Part 13. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 121. And Fu Nanli was like a boyfriend in an ordinary lover, following her meticulously and considerately, telling her which dish was delicious and which dish was average. Finally, he helped her get fruit and yogurt, held her hand, and entered his private room. The stewardesses ate lunch with tears. All the single flight attendants of Dongchuan Airlines are collectively heartbroken. The private room was small, and it was prepared for Fu Nanli by his cousin, the young director of Dongchuan Airlines, because he knew that he would always cause a commotion every time he went into the restaurant to eat. Fu Nanli put down the dinner plate and the two sat opposite each other. After dinner, you can go hang out in my office. I have a few meetings before taking off. Okay. He forked a small piece of steak onto his dinner plate, cut it into equal-sized pieces for her, and put it back on her dinner plate. Wen Qiao's heart felt warm, and taking care of her seemed to be an easy task. I saw the video of you hitting Shang Fan. The man ate slowly and elegantly. Wen Qiao looked at him flatteringly. He wanted to hug me, so I hit him. His eyes said, "Am I great? Please praise me." Fu Nanli's hand holding the fork gradually tightened, with clear joints. He reached out and pinched her face with a doting smile. The blinds could give a glimpse of the scene in the private room. He Jian saw the gentle caress on Fu Nanli's fingers, poking the vegetables on the plate with chopsticks, and felt a little unhappy. He is a star. There is no need to hit him in the future to avoid causing any trouble for yourself. Wen Qiao's only word in front of Fu Nanli was "be good." Well, I won't hit him anymore. I saw him taking a detour. Fu Nanli was in a good mood, but still mentioned uneasily, "I heard that he is very popular and many little girls like him. How about you?" Wen Qiao said casually, "He's not as good looking as you, so what's there to like about him? This is the truth. Shang Fan is a star and knows how to package things. Regardless of appearance, his facial features are still a bit worse than Fu Nanli's." The corners of Mr. Fu's mouth raised slightly. After the meal, Wen Qiao diligently peeled a banana and fed it to him, just like the enchantress who fed the foolish king grapes in ancient times. Naturally, He Jian also saw it, and she was so angry that her chest was clogged and she couldn't even take a bite. The phone vibrated on the table. From the news sent by Lin Mingshu, I heard that Lin Mingshu gathered a group of celebrities who admired Fu Nanli, raised a lot of funds, and planned to kill Wen Qiao in one fell swoop to collect evidence of her lies. He Jian glanced at the message sent by Lin Mingshu and smiled. She would expose her in front of everyone when she gets to Germany. Wen Qiao was so attentive that he put down the banana peel, picked up a tissue, and wanted to help Fu Nanli wipe the corners of his mouth. Fu Nanli grabbed her hand and said with a heavy breath, "Okay, I'll do it myself. If you touch it randomly, something will happen. This girl has no consciousness at all." He held her hand and left the restaurant. Wen Qiao felt that every stewardess who passed her had hostile eyes, and some looked at her with tears in their eyes. Wen Qiao was confused and had no idea that he had stolen the lovers of the entire airline public. His office is spacious and bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a wide sofa. Fu Nanli said that he doesn't use the office very much and only occasionally spends nights here. Wen Qiao gestured to the sofa, "Would you like to sleep on the sofa? It seems a bit short. Can you stretch your legs?" Fu Nanli came over with a cup of coffee and put his other hand around her from behind. "Don't discuss things in bed. Wen Qiao. There are so many restricted areas, making it difficult to chat. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 122. Oh. Okay, let's play here. I'm going to a meeting. After the meeting, I will board the plane directly. Someone will come to take you on the plane. See you in Germany. Wen Qiao raised her face and looked at him with a smile. Do you want me to see your heroic appearance at gate 85? I brought all the binoculars. The man put his arms around her waist. Look at it if you like it. Wen Qiao smiled sweetly. I like it. The co-pilot Luo Huiluo of Group C was next to the coffee machine in the restaurant and whispered eccentrically, Captain Fu is bringing his little girlfriend on the plane? Tisk tisk, you can do whatever you want. His crew naturally flattered him, Captain Fu can do whatever he wants in Dongchuan, let's not talk about the right and wrong of the young master, lest we be caught. Young master, is this a job? Or is it to be handsome? Luo Hui was indignant, if you want to be handsome, buy a private jet. It's not that the Fu family can't afford it. It's true that the young master is making fun of the lives of hundreds of people willful. A woman's voice suddenly came from behind, Captain Fu of Dongchuan Airlines is the most disciplined. His girlfriend sits in the ordinary cabin like ordinary passengers and does not enter the cockpit. Which one of the captain's professional codes is violated? The rules. Did Deputy Captain Luo understand it? Just talking sourly behind his back. Luo Hui's heart trembled, and when he looked back, it was Sun Qi, the secretary next to Xiao Dong, wearing a professional suit, with exquisite and capable makeup, and a glamorous expression. Luo Hui smiled and said, Secretary Sunday. We're just chatting, why should you take it seriously? Sun Qi said coldly, are you chatting? You are defaming Captain Fu's reputation. After Captain Fu's car accident, every step of the company strictly followed the regulations of the Air Traffic Management Bureau. Captain Fu's physical fitness, knowledge reserve, aviation experience, responsiveness, and all aspects have been reassessed, each of which has strict standards, and Dongchuan Airlines does not seem to have a rule that relatives cannot take the captain's flight, right? Co-pilot Luo raised his tongue. Irresponsible it is said that Captain Fu does whatever he wants, and even Captain Fu only asked his girlfriend to look through the binoculars at the boarding gate when he went around the plane. He kept discipline like this, but was slandered by Deputy Captain Luo. Ruined the reputation of Captain Fu, be careful that the Fu family will send you a lawyer's letter. Luo Hui's scalp was numb. Secretary Sun, look at you, why are you so serious, you are all colleagues. Sun Qi raised her eyelids, 1 yard counts for 1 yard. When Captain Fu finishes flying the strip, Deputy Captain Luo will formally apologize, what do you think? Luo Hui immediately confessed, yes, I will apologize to Captain Fu. In the future, there will be similar remarks from the company again, and Captain Fu's reputation will be ruined. I will let the legal department of the Fu family find you directly. After finishing speaking, holding a coffee cup and stepping on high heels, she arrogantly walked away from Luo Hui. Luo Hui was so angry that he almost hit the wall. Isn't it the young director's love, what are you dragging? I don't think you will be able to turn right in your life. In the conference room, Zhao Yuan checked the time on the watch with the crew, it's 1 hour 28 minutes and 19 seconds in the afternoon, please check your time. Su Shen came over with a stack of documents, Captain, this is the satellite cloud image data of Heiken and Munich in the next 12 hours from the Aviation Meteorological Center. Please have a look. This is the cabin oxygen usage. Fu Nanli wrote on the information, where is the turning point? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 123. Wen Qiao was sitting on the sofa drinking coffee, bored, stood up and wandered around, and saw a photo frame on his desk with its back facing her. She went around the table, walked to the table, and when she saw the person on the photo frame, slightly surprised. Is her. Fu Nanli even put her photo on the table. Not only did he believe that she was really his girlfriend without hesitation, he also treated her well in every way. Wen Qiao sat on a chair and gently stroked her photo. They all said that young Master Fu was a rich man, but Fu Nanli, who got along with her, treated her with a heart of redness. She could only try her best to be nice to him to make up for the guilt in her heart. In fact, the co-pilot usually came to check around the plane, but Fu Nanli knew that she would look at it, so he went down to check it himself. When Wen Qiao looked at Fu Nanli through the binoculars at gate 85, accompanied by airport staff. "Is Miss Wen looking at our Captain Fu?" Wen Qiao replied with a smile, "Yes." What passed behind was Zhuang Yan, who was flying to the same airport in different directions at the same time. As expected, Wen Qiao accompanied Fu Nanli to Germany. The line of his lips was tightened, he stretched out his hand to tighten the strap of the piano bag, gritted his teeth and walked behind her. This time, Wen Qiao still sat in the business class, and Zhao Yuan served her the whole time. Occasionally, He Qian could feel He Qian looking at her with a meaningful expression on her face. "Hello, passengers. I am the captain of this flight. Welcome to Dongchuan Airlines. Flight D1005 departs from Heiken to Munich." Fu Nanli's deep and sexy voice came. Wen Qiao pursed her lips and smiled. The voice was really nice. "Estimated flight time in the air is 10 hours. The plane will take off soon, and now there are cabin crew members conducting security checks." In the cockpit, Su Shen reported, "The weather radar is off. Landing gear handle down. Both wipers are off." Fu Nanli focused on the dial, and said in a deep voice, "APU fire extinguishing button test check, escape rope check, jump switch panel check." Su Shen replied, "They are all in the closed state, respected captain." Fu Nanli glanced at him, "Don't make a hippie smile." Su Shen was gearing up, "My captain has finally returned to the main position, and it is still the most practical to work by your side." Fu Nanli put on his sunglasses and said coldly, "Control tower, Heiken D1005 is applying for takeoff." "Tower, Heiken D1005, ready to take off, runway 02 left, surface wind 030 km. Wen Qiao slept, got up and ate some plain meals, slept again, and arrived in Munich. The plane landed smoothly, and Wen Qiao waited for the man in the cockpit to come out. It was Su Shen who came out first, and winked at her. "The captain and the people from the Land Management Bureau are talking, wait a minute." About 5 minutes later, Fu Nanli came out. He was wearing a captain's uniform and a cap, and he was walking towards her while bowing his head and talking to the staff, still speaking in German. "Super Su." After finally speaking, the staff members left the cabin, and there were only 2 of them left in the huge cabin. Wen Qiao walked over and graciously pressed his shoulders. "Mr. Captain, are you tired? I'll make you a horse." She stood behind him, rubbing his back and shoulders for him. Fu Nanli grabbed her hand, made her wrap his arms around his waist from behind, and led her out. "I'm not tired." Wen Qiao was thinking about his toes, so he could barely rest his chin on his shoulder. "You are so tall, 188, right?" "Well, exactly 188. 4 changes completed. Ask for a recommendation ticket." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 124. When she got off the gangway, she still held her waist from behind like this. Fu Nanli put his arms behind her to hug her. "I'll carry you on my back." Wen Qiao shook his head quickly. No, you've been tired all the way. How could I be so ignorant?" The crew members who were already sitting in the shuttle bus waiting for them were all staring at the gangway. Su Shen clicked his tongue and said, "It's another dog-killing trip. I sympathize with you single children." He Qian closed her eyes. "Wen Qiao, you deceived Fu Nanli so hard. People like you will not end well." In Munich in October, it was quite chilly at night. Wen Qiao wanted to stay cool, so she only wore a thin sweatshirt. When she got on the shuttle bus, Fu Nanli took off his uniform jacket and covered her body. Wen Qiao muttered, "I'm not cold. Dress well and behave." As long as Wen Qiao was around, Fu Nanli's eyes would be glued to her the whole time, as if the people around him no longer existed, and He Qian's heart was severely blocked. On the way to the hotel, Fu Nanli took photos for her along the way, and he took them on his own initiative, not on Wen Qiao's request. Wen Qiao was very considerate and complimented him on the beautiful and artistic photos he took. He Qian's face was extremely gloomy. When they arrived at the hotel, Wen Qiao jumped out of the car still excitedly. Fu Nanli successfully caught her and put her in his arms. He pushed the suitcase, took her hand, "Sit on it." "Wen Qiao, I'm not tired." However, the man pressed her against his tall suitcase and pushed her towards the hotel. He Qian almost vomited blood. "I spent a sleepless night thinking about what the person in the room across from me was doing. In fact, nothing was done." Fu Nanli knew that Wen Qiao was still young, so he would not force her to do anything. In the morning, Wen Qiao felt refreshed and was carried into the hotel restaurant by Fu Nanli. He Qian was so angry that she was speechless. The two people sat at the next table, and soon a Chinese chef came over with a trolley, serving shrimp wontons, noodles, and milk and soy milk. Well, the Chinese chef Fu Nanli brought here specially made breakfast for Wen Qiao. He Qian finally couldn't help it anymore, took her mobile phone and walked up to the two of them. Zhao Yuan was a little nervous and wanted to pull her, but couldn't. What did Xiao He want to do? The shadow blocked the light. Fu Nanli put down his fork and glanced up at her with an unhappy expression. He Qian smiled and looked at Wen Qiao. "When did you and our captain start falling in love?" Wen Qiao's heart skipped a beat. This sister's tone sounded like she was prepared. No wonder her eyes along the way were somewhat meaningful. Fu Nanli said coldly, "Didn't you see us eating?" He Qian gritted her teeth and said, "Captain, I received some news showing that Wen Qiao lied to you. I want to confirm it. I'm really sorry for interrupting your meal." Wen Qiao remained calm. "What do you want to say? When did you and our captain meet? When did you establish your relationship?" Wen Qiao grasped the silver fork with one hand, and hung his hand under the table, pinching the hem of his clothes tightly. "We met in June last year." "Well, you wrote a love letter to Zhuangyan last June." Wen Qiao met her gaze. "Brother Nanli knows about this." Fu Nanli's heart softened. This was the first time she called him brother. "So when did you establish your relationship with our captain?" Wen Qiao thought in his mind, "Last October." He Qian suddenly laughed. "Is the relationship confirmed in October?" Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 125. Wen Qiao didn't know what evidence she had. She was a little panicked, but she still remained calm on her face. "Yes." He Qian took out her mobile phone. "Last year, at the autumn sports meeting held in November of 9th middle school, someone took a video of you. When Zhuangyan ran 1,000 meters, you stared at him the whole time. Your eyes were obsessed with you. My friend Lu Yu asked you not to look, and wanted to pull you away, but you stubbornly stayed in the audience. After that, the video was played. The person who recorded the video was very close to her. Although there was noise, the conversation between her and Lu Yu was still clearly audible. Qiao, stop looking. If you follow him with your eyes forever, he will never look back at you." "I didn't look at him." "You can deceive others, but you can't deceive me. You are just looking at Zhuangyan. If he treats you like that, you should be more cruel to him." Wen Qiao felt that he was very strange in his previous life, as if it was caused by obsession in his heart. The more he was denied, the more he wanted to be recognized. In my previous life, I suffered from Stockholm Syndrome and was terminally ill. Fortunately, she is now out of that quagmire. The veins in Fu Nanli's hand holding the fork were all visible, and his expression was a bit gloomy and terrifying. As you said, you established your relationship with the captain in October, and you were still following Zhuang Yan in November. Miss Wen, can I understand that you are in two different situations? Wen Qiao hasn't spoken yet. He Qian took advantage of the situation and said, you said that you and the captain have established a relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. Then I would like to ask, where did you go on dates? Wen Qiao could only answer consistently, the park near home. He Qian seemed to know that she would answer this way, and posted another video, there is a park near your home. Someone asked the gatekeeper of the park if he had seen the captain. I think there are people who have seen the captain. Everyone will have an impression, the fact is. The man in the video was cross-examined and said he had never seen anyone who looked like Fu Nanli bring a girl who looked like a student to the park. At that moment, Wen Qiao was panicking. It's not that he is worried that he will die if he loses Fu Nanli. Instead, she was worried that Fu Nanli would be angry with her. At some point, she didn't realize that Fu Nanli's mood was even higher than her life safety. That's enough, the man said indifferently, looking at He Qian with eyes that were like sharp knives cutting her skin. He Qian didn't understand why the man's cold face was towards her and not towards Wen Qiao. I know what you said. She has always been the one I pursued. Now she has completely given up on Zhuang Yan. Wen Qiao looked trembling. Even more shocked was He Qian. Captain, she is obviously lying to you. Fu Nanli frowned, have you said enough? Who asked you to investigate my girlfriend? Captain, she is not your girlfriend at all. She has been lying to you all the time. Because you have lost part of your memory, she has no fear. Shut up. Fu Nanli stood up, took Wen Qiao, who was silent, and left the table. He Qian simply couldn't believe that Fu Nanli, who had always been calm and sinister, turned out to be so stupid and absurd when facing Wen Qiao. She had thrown the evidence directly in his face, but he still didn't believe it. Is he crazy? Wen Qiao's wrist was grabbed by the man. Only she knew that the man's hand was so strong that her wrist hurt from his grip. He was angry. With such straightforward evidence, she was still following Zhuang Yan in November. He was not a fool, so how could he not believe it at all? She was practically dragged back to the hotel room by him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 126. The key was thrown heavily into the tray. His actions were not gentle, and he was so angry that he briefly lost his mind. Wen Qiao, explain. Wen Qiao leaned against the wall and glanced at him secretly. The man's eyes were very violent. She was not afraid of anything, but she was a little afraid of Fu Nanli. Sorry. Feeling guilty that Fu Nanli was kind to her, Wen Qiao thought, tell him the truth, tell him the cause and effect, maybe he will show kindness and save her life. The man pressed his big hand on the back of her neck and said in a cold voice, what are you sorry for? Wen Qiao carefully probed, if someone deceives you, what will happen to that person? It won't end well. Wen Qiao shrank slightly. I remembered what Uncle Li said, our young master is not a kind person. If your whereabouts are exposed one day, not only you, but also your family will be in trouble. Fu Nanli looked and sounded like a hellish Shura. Wen Qiao's determination, which he finally made up, disappeared because of his words, it won't end well. Fu Nanli's kindness to her was entirely based on her being his girlfriend. Once this lie was exposed, everything would completely collapse. At that time, Fu Nanli would spare no effort to deal with her. Shudder. For a short period of time after I got along with you, I did, still think about Zhuang Yan. The hand on the back of her neck suddenly tightened, and Wen Qiao was so frightened that his breath suffocated. How long have you been thinking about it? Wen Qiao felt that he was finished. How could someone like Fu Nanli tolerate his girlfriend still thinking about other boys? A few months, The mouth was blocked. He Qian thought that Fu Nanli must not want to embarrass Wen Qiao in public, and would still question Wen Qiao after returning to the room. After all, the evidence is so straightforward. She hurriedly followed them back to the door of the room, vaguely hearing Wen Qiao's unusual voice, and her face suddenly turned pale. The curtains in the room were half opened, and the light in the entrance was a little dim. Wen Qiao leaned against the wall, his face flushed. Are you still thinking about him now? The man looked at her condescendingly, the jealousy in his eyes clearly visible. He also has a mortal body and has 7 emotions and 6 desires. Wen Qiao denied it flatly, no, not at all. After her rebirth, she suddenly realized that Zhuang Yan had abused her thousands of times and she should have given up on him long ago. The man held her chin and said in a fierce tone, "Is it true?" Wen Qiao nodded, "It's true." The man's eyes lingered on her, like a hunter staring at his prey, sharp, narrow, and creepy. "Do you believe me?" The park ranger said that he had never seen them go on a date. This is also conclusive evidence. Will Fu Nanli still choose to believe her? The man gently rubbed her face with his big hands, and the ferocity in his voice gradually calmed down. "Didn't you ask me to only trust you? You said that many people would stop us from being together, and you said that you risked your life to save me." Wen Qiao looked up at him, "Do you believe it?" The body trembled slightly. "They said that the driver was killed in a car accident and the car exploded. A few seconds at night, I had the same experience. What you said, if you were just an innocent person, you wouldn't risk your life to save me. Wen Qiao, what you said, I will let her." Wen Qiao's eyes heated up. If he doubted her, her guilt wouldn't be so deep. She put her arms around his waist, buried her face in his chest, and burst into tears. "I can't leave you, I will die if I leave you. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 127. She knew that Fu Nanli wouldn't understand this pun, but once she said it, the guilt in her heart would be reduced by 2 points. Because she told the truth. Fu Nanli looked stunned for a few seconds, then stretched out his arms to hug her and stroked her soft long hair. "Then stay by my side." At noon, the crew ate at a restaurant near the hotel. He Qian didn't know what to eat. When she looked up, she saw Fu Nanli holding Wen Qiao's hand and leaving the hotel. The relationship is still the same as before. Wen Qiao is still in trouble, still leaning on Fu Nanli as if he has no bones. He Qian couldn't believe it. She threw away the knife and fork in her hand and wanted to get up, but Zhao Yuan held her hand down. "What are you going to do again?" He Qian said angrily, "I have received evidence that this girl Wen Qiao has been deceiving the captain by taking advantage of his amnesia. She is not the captain's girlfriend at all." "Is the evidence strong?" He Qian, "I feel very powerful. But the captain is still like this. What does that mean? Have you ever thought about it?" What? At this stage, the captain likes her very much, even to the extent of being a fool. He will not listen to your loyal minister's advice. He loves that little girl very much, and his love defeats everything." He Qian couldn't believe it. Fu Nanli, the only heir to the Fu family, is so rich that he can rival the country. He has always been so aloof, so proud and noble. Even if he believed that Wen Qiao didn't lie to him, he could endure his little girlfriend talking to him. "When you are in love, are you still thinking about someone else?" The two people slowly passed by the floor-to-ceiling window where they were dining. Zhao Yuan held her chin and looked at Wen Qiao. The little girl wore a round neck knitted dress, and her slender neck was clearly visible, as were the red marks. She motioned to He Qian to take a look. He Qian naturally saw it, and her blood rushed to her forehead. Trouble. Perhaps the captain taught his little girlfriend a lesson in his own way, so outsiders like us don't have to mess around. He Qian was angry. The problem is that Wen Qiao is not his girlfriend at all. What does it mean to be the captain's girlfriend? The captain admitted it himself, so now, at this moment, she is his girlfriend. Sissy, can you listen to my advice? You will only make the captain angry. You should know the consequences of the captain's anger. He Qian was angry and aggrieved, her eyes turned red instantly. Why would the captain believe such a little liar? But you still can't see her efforts? When they returned to Haikan, He Qian still refused to give up and called Fu Nanli, the administrator of the park near Wen Qiao's house, made it clear that he has never seen you two dating there. Captain, in response to her words, you have any doubts? Fu Nanli held her hand and didn't intend to pay attention to her. He Qian took Wen Qiao's hand. In order to dispel the captain's suspicion of you, let's go to the park near your home to retrieve the surveillance records at the park entrance. Wen Qiao, do you dare? Wen Qiao didn't dare. She indeed had never been to the so-called park with Fu Nanli. Fu Nanli paused, looked at He Qian with anger in his eyes, and said to Wen Qiao in a deep voice, then go and have a look, so that no one will have any doubts about your identity in the future. Wen Qiao's hands and feet were completely cold. She was about to die. Wen Qiao knew that Fu Nanli really wanted to clear her name and prevent her from being criticized. Ken. She was already in a dilemma, so she had no choice but to get into Fu Nanli's car and follow He Qian's car to the park near her home. 4 updates completed. Please vote for recommendation. Qiao is 170 centimeters tall. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 128. Wen Qiao only hoped that the surveillance camera at the park entrance was broken or some other unexpected incident. After 40 minutes of driving without even a traffic jam, the two cars stopped at the entrance of the park. Wen Qiao was so nervous that his palms became sweaty. He got out of the car, and the administrator in his 50s came forward with a slightly respectful expression. He Qian said, to show fairness, this is also the first time I have asked the park to obtain surveillance video. I have not done anything. Wen Qiao can naturally tell whether there has been any manipulation. Moreover, He Qian really didn't have to do anything, and there was indeed no scene of her and Fu Nanli visiting the park. Forget it, she gave up struggling, just expose it. Let the soldiers come and cover up the water and earth. Several people entered the monitoring room together, and the administrator moved a chair to Fu Nanli. Sir, please sit down. No. He Qian said, what date do we start watching from? Wen Qiao, do you still remember the approximate time? Wen Qiao closed his eyes and started breaking the jars, probably November. Then we'll start looking at it from November, Captain. It might be a bit long, is that okay with you? Fu Nanli raised his hand and signaled the administrator to start, without paying any attention to He Qian. He Qian looked miserable and looked at Wen Qiao with a bit of gloating. I really won't give up until I reach the Yellow River. Let's see how you explain it later. The administrator clicked on the monitoring record for November 1st. Asked, Miss, may I ask what time you all come to the park? Wen Qiao, in the evening, in the evening. The progress bar has been dragged to 4:30. The surveillance video was of high definition and the faces were clearly visible. Wen Qiao felt that his heart was about to stop beating. His mind was in a mess. He looked at the man's stern profile and thought about what he would do if he knew the truth for a while. How outrageous! 10 minutes into the video, Fu Nanli suddenly stopped. Wen Qiao was shocked when he saw the person in the picture. The two people above were clearly Fu Nanli and her. The two of them were holding hands and passing by the door. The video was very clear and they were about the same size. They were dressed casually and behaved quite intimately. Indeed, it was the two of them. Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao was a little confused. And the one who was more confused than her was He Qian. This is impossible, this is impossible. Fu Nanli had already darkened his face, that's enough. After saying that, he held Wen Qiao in his arms and walked out. He Qian couldn't believe it, and followed Fu Nanli and said, "Captain, this is impossible. Wen Qiao must have lied to you. Maybe this surveillance video has been tampered with by her." "Wen Qiao, I didn't." "She really didn't." He Qian's troubles came out of the blue. She never thought that someone would be so persistent in trying to expose her, so there was no way to prepare in advance. Fu Nanli looked at He Qian with a sinister look, "Get out of the way. He has always been indifferent to others and will not save any face." He Qian said sincerely, "Fu Nanli, you will regret it, you will definitely regret it." Lao Hu pulled away He Qian who was blocking the car door, and then opened the door. "Master, get in the car." Fu Nanli put his hand on the roof of the car, gently and considerately sent Wen Qiao into the car, and then he also got in the car. The car slowly left He Qian's eyes without any nostalgia. He Qian clenched her fists, feeling so depressed that her whole body became irritable. How so? What went wrong? Wen Qiao must have done something to her. They couldn't be a couple. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 129. Wen Qiao in the car was still confused. Fu Nanli played with her fingers, "No one will question you again." Wen Qiao's heart slowly sank, "Yeah. Are you angry?" Wen Qiao shook his head knowingly, "I'm not angry." Fu Nanli's face was solemn, "I don't know why she is against you." Wen Qiao, "Huh? Don't you know? She likes you. She thinks I have robbed you, so she doesn't like me very much." Fu Nanli raised his eyebrows, "Really? Don't you know anything? I haven't noticed her. What's her name?" "Wen Qiao." "He Qian will cry to death if she finds out." The car stopped at the entrance of Shuiying Road. When Wen Qiao saw her mother approaching with a cloth bag, she was so frightened that she immediately threw herself on Fu Nanli. "Mom, hurry up, stop me." Fu Nanli unbuttoned his uniform jacket and wrapped her in his arms. "Have you been there?" Wen Qiao's voice was a little muffled. "No." Wen Qiao lay in his arms, not daring to move. After a while, he asked again, "Is it over now?" "Not yet." Wen Qiao was a little puzzled. Her mother was not a snail, so she could walk so slowly over such a long distance. She quietly poked her head out and took a look, and there was no sign of her mother anywhere on the Bluestone Road. "Liar." Fu Nanli couldn't suppress the smile in his voice. "Actually, the car windows are waterproof, and your mother can't see you from the outside." Wen Qiao was a little embarrassed. When she panicked, she forgot everything. "Then you won't tell me?" He reached out and ruffled her hair, smiling lovingly. "Okay, I'm going down. I'll help you with your luggage." "No, no, I'll get it myself." She took her luggage from the trunk and ran into the alley quickly, the blush on her face gradually fading. Wen Qiao was puzzled about the park surveillance video. It was because she was not fully prepared, because she did not expect that there would be so many love rivals and that their fighting power would be so strong. She could actually find the park and retrieve the surveillance video on the spot. On the last day of the short vacation, when she and the others were doing homework in the yard. When Emma was playing with the Rubik's Cube and would occasionally write down ideas for solving problems on paper for them. Xiaobai and Dinghai are even worse students than Wen Qi. After watching it, they always suddenly realize, Xiao Emo, you are really a genius. You can teach better than the teacher. Wen Qiao entered the room, turned on the computer, and hacked into the park's surveillance system. She suspected that someone had entered the system in advance to help her change the surveillance system. There is a black technology that is just in its infancy, and that is face-changing. It shouldn't be difficult for a master hacker to find a couple with a similar height and shape to them, and then replace their faces with hers and Fu Nanli's. Who could this person be? Wen Qiao entered the park surveillance system and found no trace of outsiders breaking through the firewall and tampering with the video. This is a master, a top master. She couldn't help but think of SY again. Currently, the only one in the W Union whose level was above hers was SY. Who is SY and why would he help her? Outside the window was the yard. Mom cut a plate of oranges and brought them to the table for the boys to eat. Then she brought another plate to her room. Did you come back by train? Are you tired? Wen Qiao smiled guiltily. Well, I'm not tired after riding on the high-speed train. I'll cook dinner. You take a break and come out to eat later. After her mother went out, Wen Qiao looked at Xiao Emo through the window. Xiao Emo put down the Rubik's Cube in his hand and picked up the comic book beside him, as if no one was watching. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 130. Xiao Emo is a genius child whose IQ is much higher than ordinary people. Could it be him? But he doesn't seem to have many opportunities to come into contact with computers, and he is an introverted child, so it shouldn't be him. Wen Qiao closed the computer, left the room, and sat at the table. Xiaobai and Ding Hate were attentive. Sister Qiao, eat the orange. I've eaten, you eat? Wen Qi pushed Xiaobai's head. Why are you flattering me? Do your homework seriously. Xiaobai felt aggrieved and said, what is flattery? Sister Qiao is not my biological sister, she is better than my biological sister. Ding Hai, it's better than my own sister. Wen Qi rolled his eyes. Why are you stirring up trouble with me? Why are you so lazy? Wen Qiao came up to Wen Mo and said, what comics are you reading? Yeah, detective themes. Xiao Mo likes to read this type. Wen Mo nodded. What else have you seen? Wimmer wrote on the paper, I have read Conan Doyle, Agatha, Hanagozishi, and Higashino Kigo. Wen Qiao was busy making a living in his previous life, but he neglected his younger brother's hobbies. It turned out that he loved reading detective novels so much. Did you buy the book or borrow it? When she looked up from the test paper, they are all borrowed. This kid always likes to go to the library? Wen Qiao nodded thoughtfully. No matter who helped her, she finally got over this hurdle. Because of guilt, she wanted to spend money on Fu Nanli. Wen Qiao thought in his mind that Fu Nanli was studying astrophysics at the university, his idol was the physicist Richard Phillips Feynman, and he also loved aviation, so he had to adapt to his hobby. It had to be expensive, and he wanted to like it. She had to think about it. After a night's rest, Fu Nanli was called to the company for a meeting by his cousin Ji Xianzheng. Ji Xianzheng is 1 year older than Fu Nanli. He is a young director of Dongchuan Airlines. He looks polite and noble on the outside, but he is ruthless behind the scenes. In just 3 to 5 years since he joined the company, he has catapulted Dongchuan, which was originally ranked last in the aviation industry, in one fell swoop. Elevated to number 1 in the industry. All the old foxes on the board of directors were dissatisfied with him. In Ji Xianzhen's office, a man wearing gold-rimmed glasses was reviewing documents. There was a knock on the door, and it was Fu Nanli who came in. He put down the pen in his hand, took off his gold-rimmed glasses, and rubbed his eyebrows. I didn't disturb your rest. I just flew back yesterday. No, I have something to tell you. Well, you say. There is a flight attendant named He Jian in my group. Ji Xianzheng raised his eyebrows. What? Transfer him. Ji Xianzheng leaned back in his chair. He Jian had come to him to beg for help many times. After all, there were business contacts and face had to be given. What extraordinary thing had she done to offend his young master? No problem. I just called you here today. I want to tell you that domestic tourists like to go to Iceland to see the aurora recently. The company plans to open 2 more direct flights to Finland. I plan to transfer you to Helsinki, Finland. What do you have? Opinion? No comment. Just in time, you want to transfer He Jian away. That's it? You fly to Helsinki, take a few staff members you trust with you, and the rest will stay with the crew flying to Munich. In this way, he wouldn't have to think of some excuses to deal with He Jian. Except for He Jian, everyone else will fly to Helsinki with me. Ji Xianzheng. Still have to think of something to say to He Jian. We plan to transfer Luo Hui from Munich Group D to Group A to be the captain. He is also an experienced first officer. Do you have any objections? Fu Nanli, who is he?